today is Conspiracy Friday, and we're going to be debunking multit0mt0m because he's back again. Right? He's been back for a while now. It took a 3-month break to get stupider. And now he's claiming that Jupiter has no moon, Saturn has no rings.
There are no planets, no solar system, and no heliocentric model. The heliocentric model.
I don't know if he puts this thing here to show how ridiculous this model is. Like, look at him, it's ridiculous. His planet's so big. Ha ha ha. Why do you believe in that? I like this is his background. I feel like that's why I put it there. Well, he does know this is not accurate model scale sizes, right?
Was created by a Jesuit priest.
And Flat Earth was created by a bunch of people who didn't like how science was advancing so beyond their comprehension, that they just went back and just did Flat Earth books, so they didn't like how science was advancing. That's the origin of Flat Earth resurgence. Of course, Flat Earth has been way before that, but that was because we didn't understand that much. Maybe the reason we moved to the round Earth model is because science advanced, but no, this Flat Earth is no, because NASA,
Named Nicolaus Copernicus, and science, in quotation marks, has been.
Science in quotation mark is how we describe Flat Earth. Like, they're like, hey, look at the science we're doing, and I'm like, yeah, science quotation marks, because I Flat Earth was pseudoscience. And then they just like, no, heliocentric model is pseudoscience because I said so.
Been trying to validate this model for 500 years without any success.
No, that Flat Earth has no success. Round Earth does. That's because Round Earth heliocentric model does. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean they failed to validate it.
Now, there are ignorant and stupid people out there who will claim that believing in a heliocentric model has advanced the human civilization. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Well, rocket development to space would be, if we had to believe in space, we had to believe in the heliocentric model because we already saw space, right? And that the Earth is round. So we knew the space was real, so we launched rockets, and this rocket's development advanced technology so much that satellites were launched for internet, and phones and laptops were developed in this technology advancement thanks to rockets. This laptop you're using to debunk space was because NASA and other space agencies sent a bunch of rockets to space.
Then there are others who claim that the globe model makes predictions in our universe. They claim.
You hear what he says, like mix. I don't know what he says, so I'm not going to debunk that.
They know the density of the Earth and other planets in quotation marks.
Yeah, so you can actually figure out the density by yourself. I mean, Earthers are famously not good at maths, but I don't think multit0mt0m has done maths before in his channel, so I don't know if he's good at or bad at math yet. What you can do is basically you have the mass and you have the radius. You use the radius to figure out the volume, and then you divide the volume by mass to figure out the density of a planet.
I say rubbish.
Yes, the opinion of multit0mt0m cannot. The opinion of multit0mt0m is it's much important than hundreds of years of not hundreds of years, like years of scientific research into looking to space. He is against hundreds of years of science. just that's rubbish.
What they did was they stole the data from the ancient civilization who knew the earth was flat and stationary.
When I said like years of science, not hundreds of years, was because like we determined the mass of Jupiter and other planets not 500 years ago, but like more recently with technology advanced very much.
These ancient civilizations observed the sky for millennia and more, and they found out that everything in the sky is cyclic.
Cyclic? Oh yeah, that cyclic, like the constellations change. Yeah, that is true. And you know how that can be true? With a round Earth.
If you observe the sky for a period of time, then you would know and you would be able to predict heavenly phenomena in the future.
Heavenly phenomena. See, the thing I don't like about flat Earth is that it dulgers from science into mythology. Heavenly phenomena. What are you? Just some. What are you like? Somebody from ancient Greek about to write a mythology.
And these space agencies especially stole these data from the ancient
What?
civilizations such as the Chinese, Egyptians, Indians, Mayans.
They didn't steal data. They looked in the sky. They observed the sky. And actually, I don't know what point you're trying to make of what these space agencies did, but they like didn't steal the data. They. I mean, historians do review the old data, but like space agencies just approved upon understanding of the sky. I found out that there's a lot that the space exists,
etc., etc., etc. Planets are actually a Greek metaphysical invention.
because some of them have Greek god names.
Metaphysics is very much similar to science fiction.
Okay, metaphysics. Okay, similar to science fiction too, but there's like, do you have any evidence to support that planets are science fiction? You can see them through a telescope.
It derives from Greek mythology. Everything
No, the Greek gods that some planets are named of, yes, were in mythology. Yeah, but then scientists send a bunch of space probes, and observe the telescopes to find out that these planets exist. Plus six of plus Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn were visible to the night sky, so people saw them in the night sky before. It's just Uranus and Neptune were discovered later by telescopes that were that far away. But these six planets were observed by people before anyway. Well, not with telescopes, but they saw it in the night sky because it's visible. I don't get why these writers they're like, oh, it's just there's just stuff in the sky and the dome. Like, what is this dome made of? And why would just a dot in the sky be so detailed? That's just kind of pointless.
Thing
I know.
in the sky are basically lights or luminaries.
Yeah, but you cannot provide any evidence for that. Why the Hillshire model can provide all the evidence for planets existing.
Our sun and moon are unique.
Yes, they are unique. One is a hydrogen ball of gas, very far away in space, and that the Earth is orbiting, and one is orbiting Earth.
Then there are the wandering stars, which people call planets. Then, of course, the stars, which are so numerous.
Did this guy just so? So basically, what makes them move? What makes them move? What, some heavenly force makes them move in the sky? No, it's gravity moving them around the sun, and we on Earth absorb it. Observe it. What makes these planets move in the sky? If they're just a bunch of lights in a dome, why are they moving? Why in the flat Earth model is the sun and moon orbiting each other, going forward and back? What's making them do that? Certainly not gravity, according to you flat earthers.
There is only one moon, and that moon is in our sky.
What about the moons that you can observe with a telescope? You can legit see Jupiter, a bunch of dots. If you have a highly detailed telescope, like top quality telescope, you can look at Jupiter and you can see a bunch of dots orbiting that. Those are moons. A dot in the sky, according to flat earthers, a dot in a dome, wouldn't have stuff orbiting it. You can observe it for yourself. You can literally observe it for yourself if you buy a high quality telescope. Or you can literally observe it for yourself. You're just denying what people can see. What is your reasoning for this? If you're just denying what we can see, you can literally observe it for yourself. You don't have to buy a telescope.
Soon after, Nicholas Copernicus published his book De Revolutionibus.
Please restrain from singing ever again.
Obium co.
Anyway, I know you guys don't want to suffer, so I'm gonna skip about 10 seconds.
By the then scientific community to push and try to prove this heliocentric model.
Galileo was highly opposed at this time. His ideas were opposed. Scientific community pushing their ideas. Galileo, nobody liked Galileo's ideas. What community pushing it?
That was just created by Copernicus. And one of
Galileo saw Copernicus and built upon it to make it better, because science can always change when we have more advanced technology and we know more.
the scientists in quotation marks was the Italian Galileo Galilei. He made a telescope and observed the wandering star Jupiter. He noticed
By the way, sometimes I pause with silence. It's just so I can take in the stupid.
through his telescope that there were 4 stars in close proximity of Jupiter, and he called
Please stop calling them stars. Call them moons, please. Stars imply, well, I guess you know what a star is. Actually, no, you don't. You think that stars are just a bunch of dots in the sky. They're not stars. They're solid raw objects. They're moons.
them moons of Jupiter.
So one day, I wish we just get all the flat earthers in a rocket, launch them to space, and then they can see space and that the Earth is round. Although no flat earthers probably be like, that's just some fancy CGI green screen.
Mistakenly. Today, he's been held in high esteem by
Mistakenly, he mistakenly saw 4 dots in Jupiter that you can still see today. Wow, multit0mt0m has really took a break to be stupid.
the scientific community for this reason, and the 4 stars near Jupiter are called the Galilean moons, but they are in fact stars.
I don't even think that the sky knows what a star is. Like stars are very hot, you know? Just burn Jupiter up, and they're also very bright. Wow, you can legit see Jupiter for yourself, and it looks nothing like a star. It looks like a planet. Wait, is it a fancy star? And the moons are not bright. You cannot see them from here. If it was like stars, if you were to see them from Earth, but no, you have to have a telescope.
He plotted the stars around the vicinity of Jupiter and mistakenly claimed they were moons of Jupiter.
Oh, I know why they might have said they're moons, because they observed them orbiting Jupiter. You can literally observe them. My man here has gone from denying stuff exists that you cannot observe without because the stuff we can't access easily, like Hubble telescopes images. Like he denies that to deny things that you can easily observe with a telescope. Like at this point, like my man, he just deny what you can observe.
Galileo and
Judging by this model, I am not liking where it's going.
millions of astronomers and amateur astronomers, whom are called dishonest pricks,
Oh, the twist of irony.
are confused in reality. As I have said previously, there is only one moon, the moon in our sky.
Inside our atmosphere, according to flat earthers.
The moon, our moon, is close and local.
Yes, but what's keeping it up there and not coming back down? Like, you guys deny the gravity because it will destroy your model. But, like, there's no explanation why the moon is up there. And how is it night in the Arctic all the time? Like, how's the night in the Arctic all the time? Like, you cannot deny that Antarctica and Arctic, sometimes they just experience night for a long time. What, like, the moon, it has to orbit, so it has to go away from the Arctic. But no, it's nighttime for like a lot of months on the Arctic. Like, the moon would have to stay, according to your model, the moon would have to stay still for that to happen on the Arctic. But there would be daytime on the other side for a long time for it to work in the Arctic of night if always. But no, according to your model, the moon, the sun, and the moon are always changing directions, orbiting each other. See, your model, you claim it's good, but really it fails a lot. That it implodes on itself, it debunks itself.
Apart from our sun, everything else in the sky are either wandering stars or stars. There are no planets. Planets are not
Aren't like every star technically wandering stars because they're moving in a specific pattern, these stars.
terra firma. You cannot land on them nor terraform them to live in the future.
Well, I mean, you cannot land on Jupiter because it's a lot of gas, but like, so basically this guy is denying Mars rovers also. We have photos of Mars rovers on Mars. And what do you have? Just a stubborn mind.
Now if you look at this diagram, you will see that all
That's that he has no idea what the hell he's talking about.
luminaries travel from east to west. The stars at the top have a wider, therefore longer circuit. If you are an observer on the ground looking up, then there are constellations and stars that have a very varying degree of circuit, some very small, and people get confused by this fact. One group of stars that have a short circuit are the stars that are close to Jupiter, which the heliocentrics call the moon of Jupiter. The shortest circuit that any star has are Polaris and Sigma Octantis. Actually, from an observer on the Earth, those two stars will look stationary, as if they are not moving. But in reality, they are also traveling east to west. Once again, if you look at this cartoon depiction of
But Polaris, actually, it's what I was saying is true. Polaris is actually moving with us, but like it will take like thousands of years for its position to change. However, not whatever this circuit BS he's saying. Like, what? How can you explain that sometimes, like, some of the moons are not appearing when you look at Jupiter, because like some of them are behind Jupiter? Do like the star's short circuit is around Jupiter? What's making it do that?
the heliocentric model. If you could just add stars with the wandering stars there, or the planets as the heliocentrics call it, stars further away from the center have a longer circuit. So replace the Sun with Polaris.
is not gonna say what I think he's about to say. He's going to say that that they're orbiting around Polaris. Please don't say that.
If you know Jupiter from this model, then add a group of stars near it with a shorter orbit. This will perfectly explain the moons of Jupiter.
But you guys deny gravity exists. What's making it orbit? Like, you say that Polaris also moves. So that means that planets change with position and other stars with Polaris in a different way to respond with Polaris. If Polaris changes position in your flat Earth model, that doesn't happen. Like, yes, they do change movements, but it's not like with correlation with Polaris. You know what I'm saying?
Jupiter and the circuit of those stars. This amateur video shows the wandering star Jupiter and the stars around it, which people today call the moons of Jupiter. And there are actually amateur astronomers, whom are called dishonest pricks, who will use CGI graphics to present these stars transiting Jupiter.
To illustrate, you mean? Are you? See, I cannot speak from all this stupid.
Once you start to think for yourself,
Oh my god, not this BS again. Fathers are like, once you start to think for yourself. Like, bro, you're not, you cannot think. If you're a flat earther, then you have failed at thinking.
and not parrot what somebody else has told you or taught you.
But that somebody else who's taught you is supported by years of science, years of research, years of studies. Maybe not studies, but like years of research. Yeah, and then we have the other side, flat earthers, who are just making stuff up on the spot and cannot support their evidence. Like, they cannot explain eclipses.
Then you will start to make sense of this real.
I mean, you start to make sense if you shut down your brain, you throw it in the trash. You say to your brain, or you just take your brain out of shut and say, "Shut up" to your brain, and throw it in the trash. Then yes, it all makes sense.
World. What you are seeing here is the wandering star Jupiter with stars circuiting around it.
Those are not stars; those are moons. They appear to be shiny, but that's from the sun's light, and plus they're really small. So they're really small, only a couple of thousand kilometers big, which sounds big, but like in a really far away perspective of millions of kilometers, hundreds of millions of kilometers, and very small and appear to be dots.
They are not moons of Jupiter. There is only one real moon, and that is in our sky. Saturn is another wandering star that
Wait a minute! Oh, this video debunks you! You just said in your title, Saturn has no rings.
has been
What is that? A wandering star playing with a hula hoop?
misunderstood and mislabeled. been misunderstood. Saturn is another wandering star that has been misunderstood and mislabeled.
Yes, by flat earthers.
Further, people will claim that this wandering star has rings.
The rings are right there. You can see it. Multit0mt0m, you're putting on the video. You can see that it has rings
Surrounding the planet in quotation marks.
What is it then? What is this? How do you explain?
Nothing could be further from the truth.
The fact that he can see it right here and he's denying that it exists just really shows the extent of multit0mt0m's stupidity.
What you see here are not rings at all, but part of the genetic makeup of Saturn.
What? Like, so it's just. So what you're saying is that some star, this Saturn, is just a star in that shape, you know? What is deciding of stars to be spherical? Gravity decides that some stars are spherical. But no, but the stars are spherical. The wandering stars that you call, which are planets, are spherical. And so what made Saturn? What's making them spherical? And so you're basically saying that this particular star, oh, it just has a ring around it. Oh yeah, then orbits it. You can see it moving in a more high quality telescope. So basically, this man is saying that, oh yeah, that star is just like that. I cannot comprehend multit0mt0m's stupidity. He's literally saying that the rings are just how the star is. Like, that's what he said. No. It's a planet with rings made out of rocks and dust and ice.
NASA and other space agencies will present computer-generated images such as these.
These are not computer generated. Well, you can easily tell for yourself which are computer generated. For example, that's computer generated. That's an artist rendition. There's also an artist rendition. There's also most likely an artist rendition. And that's the thumbnail of that artist rendition. However, some of these are photos of Saturn.
And claim that the rings of Saturn are made up of ice
and rocks and dust. Plus, you can always click on them and see which ones are artist renditions and which one are pictures of Saturn.
And they will claim that they have sent probes and
F in the chat for Cessna.
And spaceships and did flybys of the planet Saturn. Saturn is simply an odd-shaped wandering star. The main body of Saturn is revolving at an incredible rate, just like our Sun. However, unlike the Sun, Jupiter does not create energy or light.
That's not a star.
The rings of Saturn are in
And why it doesn't create its own light, energy and light? Because it's not a star, it's a planet.
fact a vortex created by the spin, and the ring is the same genetic material as the main body of Saturn.
Well, that's what you're saying. So basically, that moment when you have star material orbiting. So like some stars in the like some actually Tetris say like some stars are kind of like that, that they have some stardust around orbiting them, but those are stars, and this is a planet, and that's rings of rock. Anyway, that's enough of multi-tom-tom stupidity. I hope you enjoyed. Until see you next time. Goodbye.